Is this what it has come to, everyone? Once praised as one of the most influential voices in contemporary gospel, gospel singer Lindrea Johnson is currently in the news for allegedly going to the event drunk and teaming up with none other than the divisive Bishop Q. Caldwell. It gets worse, though. She was captured on camera singing, not in awe, but rather in what many are describing as an appeal for pity. The gospel community is divided, critics are speaking, and fans are furious. However, what actually took place that evening? Furthermore, why is she siding with the man known as the Clout Pastor? The truth is far messier than you may imagine, so stay put. Welcome back to the channel where we explore the most startling, contentious, and enlightening tales that are causing a stir in the evangelical music industry, as well as prominent personalities who never stop talking. And we have a storm today. Oh, Johnson, Lindrea. That Lindrea, indeed, for Chapeau. The Sunday Best Grammy Award winner, who has been candid about her struggles with addiction and the negative aspects of church culture, is making news again. Not for a musical return, though. It's for what many are referring to as yet another public collapse. Or is it a calculated attempt to win them over? In a now viral video, Lindrea is shown apparently intoxicated and collaborating with Bishop Q. Caldwell, the most controversial preacher on the internet who has gained notoriety for transforming sermons into spectacles. As if that weren't enough, Lindrea is seen snatching the microphone and performing a melancholic gospel song while Bishop Q and his group either encourage or take advantage of her. She stated something you won't believe. You'll be shocked with Bishop Q's response. You won't believe how the gospel industry is responding behind closed doors either. They don't want you to see this side of Lindrea Johnson, but we're dissecting everything today. This is where things become really fascinating, from the chronology of her recent appearances to the potential implications of this connection for her career, mental health, and future in gospel ministry. The true narrative is just getting started, so grab your tea and stay with us. We must take a step back and consider the significance of Lindrea Johnson's past before we can analyze the explosive viral moment involving Bishop Q. Caldwell. This wasn't just another singer who was caught in the act. This woman has spent years openly battling demons while attempting to lead worshipers and clinging onto the microphone. When Lindrea tried out for Bet Sunday Best in 2010, she immediately won people over. With a voice so anointed that even the judges were crying, she rocked the gospel scene while sporting flip-flops and unfiltered emotion. She was crowned the underdog who became queen after that, hailed as the gospel's next Artha. However, a lady fighting something far more sinister was behind the voice: addiction, trauma, hurt from the church, and the demands of celebrity. Lindrea never feigned perfection. She freely acknowledged that she occasionally lost her spiritual direction, drank, and cursed. She was outspoken about how the black church frequently condemned her for being broken rather than accepting it. She blasted pastors for being hypocritical in a strong 2018 tirade, accusing the gospel industry of prioritizing money and performance before ministry and healing. She almost lost her job in the industry as a result of that viral event, but it also gave her a platform to speak for the voiceless. And now, years after admirers thought she was at last getting better, this new viral video could undo all of her hard-won gains. People are heartbroken, not just dissatisfied. For them, Lindrea was more than just a vocalist. She represented forgiveness and salvation. However, is this fresh chapter really something else? This is what transpired. A now viral video of Lindrea Johnson in a dimly lit room, holding a microphone in her hand and appearing confused, started making the rounds on TikTok, Instagram, and even YouTube. Not on a platform or pulpit, but in what appeared to be a private home studio or lounge. Bishop Q. Caldwell, who was notorious for his theatrical manner, dramatic internet sermons, and direct criticism of phony churchgoers, was standing next to her. Bishop Caldwell is shown energizing the audience at the beginning of the film, and Lindrea is seen swaying, slurring her words a little, and starting to sing a gospel song with obvious emotion. Fans, however, were uninspired. They were taken aback. Even though her voice was still strong, it cracked with what many people said was melancholy or something more profound. She appeared drunk, according to some. Others claim that she was coerced into doing a performance while feeling weak. However, the moment that really rocked the gospel world was when Bishop Caldwell, who has publicly ridiculed other gospel leaders, entered the scene and started arguing with her. Not in unison, not in awe, but almost like they were performing. Commenters started saying things like, "This is painful to watch. Why is Bishop Caldwell using her like this? This feels like exploitation." Leandria is crying for help, and they're laughing around her. She needs help, not a camera in her face. The intentionality of this is what makes it so unsettling. The lighting was changed, the camera was put up, and this was not a moment that accidentally spilled. Rather, it was made. Bishop Caldwell even shared it on his Facebook, captioning it, "Deliverance occurs when two anointed folks come together. Don't pass judgment on something you don't comprehend." The wild twist is that Caldwell didn't back down. In a follow-up Instagram Live, he told his critics to get a life and asserted that Leandria wasn't drunk, but rather full of the Holy Ghost. Fans were in a frenzy because they were seeing desperation rather than deliverance. And some even accused Caldwell of clout chasing by attaching himself to a vulnerable Leandria. To fully grasp the significance of this controversy, you must know who Bishop Q. Caldwell is. For those who have forgotten or never heard of him prior to this incident with Leandria Johnson, he is not your typical church leader. Some claim it was an intimate moment of worship that was misinterpreted, while others claim it was a carefully planned mess to go viral and Leandria was used. Some even claim that he is more of an internet celebrity than a pastor. Years ago, Bishop Q. Caldwell made headlines when he was caught on camera saying, "I'm not gay anymore." "I Am Delivered" went viral on all major platforms. Caldwell, who was dressed in tight outfits and made ostentatious facial gestures, was both ridiculed and fascinated. Instead of avoiding the criticism, Caldwell embraced his own identity, which blurred the boundaries between spiritual deliverance, entertainment, and controversy. The video received millions of views, and Caldwell capitalized on his fame by launching a brand selling merchandise and even appearing on reality TV and podcasts. But here's where it gets complicated. Caldwell has also been accused of using young gospel singers as leverage, fabricating miracles during live streams, making money off of the LGBTQ+ community he once rejected and then welcomed again, and making inflammatory claims about well-known pastors like Bishop T.D. Jake, Jamal Bryant, and even gospel legends like Shirley Caesar. He would go on social media tirades, criticize other church leaders, and wear gaudy clothing while preaching against what he called the fake church. Suddenly appears next to a clearly struggling Leandria Johnson, people are suspicious. Why? Because Leandria has a history of addiction, trauma, and feeling rejected by the church, fans were furious that someone like Caldwell, who has built a reputation off shock value rather than healing, was filming, uploading, and displaying her. Whoa! They claimed that this was about marketing, not ministry, and even those who had previously supported Bishop Caldwell turned against him, raising questions such as whether he had used Leandria's suffering to get the video to go viral, whether she had been paid or coerced into joining him, and why this felt more like exploitation. The video was published by well-known gospel websites with the statement, "This ain't ministry." One preacher even remarked, "This is a media circus. Instead of filming for views, we should be laying hands to heal. Deliverance is not what this is." This is dishonesty. Regardless of Caldwell's intentions, his participation has sparked a heated discussion regarding clout culture in contemporary gospel. The public is calling for openness, and for Leandria Johnson is not just another gospel singer. She is a vocal powerhouse, a winner of Bet Sunday Best, and someone who many once thought would lead the next generation of gospel music. Protection. For artists like Leandria, who are still obviously struggling with real-life issues while others make money off of their suffering, behind the beautiful voice and the anointed performances, however, is a woman who has been brutally honest about her pain. Leandria's journey was difficult from the beginning. She became well known after winning Sunday Best, but her life quickly descended into chaos, and the very church that praised her talent soon started criticizing her shortcomings. She was shunned for being too honest, too unvarnished, and too raw. Not to mention that she has publicly acknowledged that she struggles with alcoholism, been arrested, cursed out the church in viral outbursts, and screamed in one sobbing live session, "Y'all don't want real. You all strive for perfection." Leandria, who is obviously upset and vulnerable in the video, is seen laying hands, praying, and even yelling in tongues as Bishop Q. Caldwell gets her excited, records, and magnifies the moment. This is why the recent video featuring Leandria is unsettling on so many levels. Fans are now wondering if Leandria is okay, because this isn't the first time she's had a public breakdown disguised as a spiritual moment. The rawness of it, the unscripted, emotional breakdown she seems to have, doesn't feel like a moment of praise to many. Rather, it feels like a meltdown being caught for clout. There have been live streams in which she confessed to being drunk, concerts in which she was unable to finish, and interviews in which she confessed, "Sometimes I want to run away and never sing gospel again." Leandria has stated time and time again that the church caused her great pain. Following her Sunday best win, she felt used, confined, and ultimately discarded. Her fans and followers have begun to demand accountability after she was enmeshed in another viral church incident that seemed more about Bishop Q's platform than her welfare. She was not allowed to be human, and each time she slipped, she was demonized rather than assisted. Where is her network of support? Why is she still being taken advantage of these view seekers? Why do gospel gatekeepers remain silent when one of their own is obviously in pain? Leandria once remarked, "I'm a work in progress. Do not hold me in high regard. I could trip. I could trip. Will you continue to pray for me, or will you write about me if I do?" Just that quote strikes a deep chord at the moment, because this goes beyond a single moment captured on video. This is about a gospel performer who is once again calling for genuine love rather than fake Christianity. The distinction between genuine ministry and performance for likes is more hazy than ever in today's viral culture. Gospel icon Leandria Johnson, who represents both a profound suffering and a heavenly summons, is at the center of this tension. A long-standing awkward discussion has been rekindled by her most recent appearance in a live-streamed occasion with Bishop Q. Caldwell. Is the church taking advantage of the brokenness of its members, or is it actually defending them? The commodification of Leandria's spiritual weakness is remarkable. This woman has opened up about her struggles with alcoholism, despair, rejection, and even suicidal thoughts in public. However, she is frequently presented as a spectacle rather than wearing actual pastoral clothing. Her breakdowns became viral videos. Her hardships were reframed as moments of anointing. This isn't just about Leandria. Let's be clear, this relates to a far more significant structural problem in the gospel industry and Black church. The church preaches about grace far too frequently, yet it lives by performance. Leaders don't want healing, they want perfection. Saints would rather shout than be silent. Sure, furthermore, love isn't there when someone like Leandria begins to crumble under the pressure of both private trauma and public attention. They are forced to perform once again on a stage. Even worse, emotionally vulnerable women are frequently used by men in ministry, particularly those who are vying for internet celebrity to advance their personal agendas. A lot of people believe that Bishop Q. Caldwell experienced precisely that. Critics viewed it as a publicity hoax, despite his claims that it was a breakthrough and a moment of prayer. It didn't feel like praise given Leandria's obvious suffering, her frantic motions, and her screaming. It was like suffering in front of onlookers. After that, where were the elders to check on her? Behind the camera, where was the ministry's accountability? Why are we calling this type of emotional manipulation church and normalizing it? It is impossible to overlook mental health, so let's also discuss it longer. Leandria has already alluded to the fact that genuine self-care, support groups, and therapy have been more helpful to her than sermons. She has acknowledged that she has required distance, truth, rehabilitation, and limits in addition to prayer. Despite this, she encounters clout chasers and detractors rather than members of the community if she displays even the slightest hint of relapse or public vulnerability. This is the terrible cycle of Black church culture's exploitation. When you are gifted, the church utilizes you. When you are broken, it leaves you. When you make a comeback, it celebrates it, but then it publishes about your next failure. It is cultural betrayal as well as spiritual assault. Furthermore, Leandria Johnson is merely the most recent in a long line of women who have been engulfed by a system that prioritizes their gift over their welfare. We need to start posing awkward queries. Who has the right to enter the church? Who has the right to? Where are the secure areas where genuine healing can occur? How can we prevent leaders who are at risk of going viral? Women like Leandria will continue to be exploited, marginalized, and silenced in the name of ministry until those questions are addressed. The public's reaction has been extremely divided as the viral videos of Leandria Johnson's explosive live stream with Bishop Q Caldwell continue to take over timelines. There are ardent believers on one side who are fiercely protecting their sister in Christ from online bullies and spiritual predators. Conversely, an increasing number of voices, even inside the church, are starting to raise concerns about the culture that initially caused this upheaval. Within minutes of the video being released, social media was ablaze. Trending hashtags included "Pray for Leandria," "Protect Black Women in Ministry," and "Church Trauma." Former pastors, religion leaders, and gospel musicians all contributed. Many people are deeply concerned about the way Leandria was treated at such a vulnerable spiritual time. This, some said, was not deliverance. Under the pretense of ministry, this was emotional exposure turned into a weapon. And that brings us to the greater reality. People are worn out. I'm fed up with church trauma, cover-ups, and emotional manipulation for viral attention. Millennials and Gen Z in particular are increasingly favoring honesty above showmanship. They are drawn to places of worship where healing is valued more than publicity, where individuals like Leandria are given rest rather than accountability, and where your soul is nourished rather than just your skills are displayed. The story of Leandria Johnson is more than just a scandal. It's a mirror that compels us to consider the actual values of the church. Are we creating platforms or elevating people? Are we reviving lives or merely documenting their demise? Remember that Leandria didn't request notoriety. Someone called her. The attention wasn't her choice. The attention wasn't her choice. When she won Sunday Best, it was thrown at her with a voice so strong, it brought millions to tears. Her life, however, has been a roller coaster of unvarnished reality, genuine suffering, and constant pressure ever since. Leandria has never held back, from her highly visible battles with addiction to her contentious remarks on how the church handles the broken, and she has been both strong and burdened by that honesty. Her rawness is still more powerful than 1,000 sermons in the midst of conflict. One thing is certain, regardless of your feelings for her, Leandria Johnson is an example of a church in crisis, where the hurting are frequently ignored and the gifted are frequently left unprotected. Additionally, when admirers keep showing her affection in their comments and pleading with her to take a break, the message is clear. She needs to gather herself and get back in touch with God on her own terms. Your breakdown is not your fault. Your trauma is not owed to anyone. Leandria, you take your time. Don't heal for them, heal for you. Whether Leandria was right or wrong isn't necessarily the most significant question as this story progresses. Will the church at last create room for the broken to breathe? That is the true question. Because if it doesn't, it will lose its soul in addition to its leaders.